mic check. Is it working?
Yeah.
What's up, y'all? Today we're talking about Grovel, which is a classic local event here. The race is always the Saturday after Thanksgiving. People from out of the area do show up to this event, but this is a event that I've always felt like everybody who is from this area, like they're already in town for Thanksgiving. I feel like it's an event where you see a lot of people kind of show up for the last race of the year, like all the big local names from around the southern Indiana area always kind of end up at this event. We're gonna talk about the gear I used.
For context, it was a very, very cold race.
Yes.
It was cold enough that I bailed. I was there for moral support only.
There was actually more people that raced it than I thought there would be.
How cold was it at the start?
Like 17-ish degrees or so.
Yikes, I would have died.
I don't know if it ever got above freezing or not.
I don't think so.
It is a race where the majority of it is gravel, and the gravel is southern Indiana gravel, so it's fairly brutal. It's not like it's easy gravel at all. It's very chunky and lots of hill climbing in this event. The race, though, has about, I don't want to say 20, probably 15 miles of single track. Like, yeah, I think that's fair.
I think that sounds about right.
And it's front loaded and back loaded, so the clips you're about to see are all from the first 15 miles of this race because my camera died. I didn't have great dexterity, because I'll get into why I didn't have great dexterity, but I accidentally filmed like a 20-minute clip and filled the SD card up. There's awesome footage of the beginning of the race, and we'll get into that in a second, but the first part is like trail, and then you do a long gravel loop, and then you hit trail again to finish the event off, which I think is important context to understand. To go along with that, there's a bunch of categories in this event, but there's an open category, and then there's a specific mountain bike category, which is the one that I usually race in, and the one I raced in this year. I always find that I do better racing that mountain bike category than I do the gravel. Every time I've raced the gravel bike category, I have a really bad day at this event, and I've been doing it. That was my 9th gravel. Oh, sorry, 8th, because they didn't have one in 2020. So 2020 was COVID year, but 2015 Grovel was my very first bike race I ever did. So this one definitely is a special one for me.
What's the overall distance?
It's a 60-mile event. Anyway, I chose to race my Epic World Cup. I don't know if this bike has been on video before, but this is my 2025 World Cup custom build. Last year, I won the mountain bike race on a World Cup, my old World Cup. I think this bike's really good for this event because it's such a good gravel bike, but it's still a very good mountain bike. This year, I was very happy. This is the first time I've raced with this remote lockout, and I really liked it. Like just being able to press the button and lock it out really quick for like the pavement sections, and that worked very, very well. I like the middle setting a lot for gravel, the pedal mode. This is a 120 fork on this bike, kind of vibe with the bike better with a 120 fork. For gravel, I did put on the Aspen ST 2.25s. If you're looking to get a set of these, these are also the team edition. If you're looking for a set of these, we have a bunch in stock right now. Check it out at thebicyclestation.com. 2.4s are coming. 2.25s are in stock right now. For funsies, I wanted to try out this Ceramic Speed setup, so I put a Ceramic Speed bottom bracket and their oversized pulley wheel on it.
The pizza cutter pulley wheel.
I noticed, it's faster.
That's awesome.
I'm willing to admit, it feels faster, like when you're pedaling. Again, like if you watched our BC40 video, I've been a skeptic of these things, and yeah, you can feel it. It's definitely faster. So is it worth $600? I don't know. Did I spend $600 on it? No. Just full disclosure, I did not spend $600 on that. And thank you to Ceramic Speed for sponsoring a couple of videos we've done. So I had it available to me. So shout out to Ceramic Speed. If you guys want one and you have the money to blow on it, yeah, it's faster. This bike currently weighs in at right just under 23 pounds. It's effectively 23 pounds, but I would call it's 22 and not 22.9 on the scale. So super light for a full suspension hardtail thing. Not
full
super light for
hardtail thing.
Yeah, it's not really.
Love that description of the World Cup. Let's jump into clothing real quick.
Yeah, I think we're talking about gear right now. First things first, wore the Aero helmet. Definitely faster, but I also think warmer, and that's the main motivation for me. This is my Evade 3, less airflow, warmer helmet. I think this is a solid helmet. I end up wearing it a lot more than I want to, you know what I mean? I've never given this helmet a rave review.
It's the one I see you in the most.
Yeah, but I keep wearing it. Yeah, they did something right here. I don't think it's as good as the Evade 2, but I did a whole video about that a long time ago. Underneath that, I actually own 2 of these. I have a yellow one and a green one. This is not even a cycling thing, but this is my Melanzana, whatever. What would you call this? Like base layer cap?
Sure.
These things have low key, I think this is an essential piece of gear.
I have one as well that Jesse and I got our first hats together years ago, like 5 or 6 years ago, and it's my favorite hat for riding.
I went and bought a second one because if I lost that, I have the yellow one somewhere, but last time I was in Leadville, I grabbed one. Melanzana is obviously kind of like a hype brand, so it's not like a secret, but if you're ever in Leadville, like you don't have to get an appointment to get one of these. They just have them like on a shelf.
I also have seen like off and on that they've had the hats available for shipping.
Oh, interesting.
They might not at the moment, but I've seen off and on that that's like a shippable item. And for anyone looking for a hat, I am a generally like cold person, and that hat keeps me super warm. Jesse stays pretty toasty year round.
It covers your ear. It goes like at least to like halfway through the ear.
And
so
it's not super thick.
That's what I like
fits
about
under
it.
A helmet.
It doesn't feel like you're wearing this crazy big thing, and it's warm. So
best hat ever.
Best hat. Honestly, I agree. Best hat ever. I did wear a buff just to kind of block the wind. It was so cold. This is my all-city checker flag one. I think it looks cool in the photos. So I have a ton of these, but I always race in this one because
he just likes the aesthetic of that one, and that's a super lightweight buff. Like
yeah, this is just a buff.
Not any of the thick ones or anything like that. It's just standard lightweight.
Because one of the interesting things about this event was that I was basically teetering on overdressing, right? And like, I know it was super cold, but like I was like going pretty hard on the clothing. And historically, I've done this race where I've like showed up in shorts and like a t-shirt in like a 40-degree weather before for this event. And I'm not quite as hardy as I was 5 years ago, but yeah, this was kind of the first time I've ever really done a race where I was like, okay, clothing is really, really important here. And spoiler, like I absolutely nailed it. I was comfortable the whole day, and I wasn't overheating, which I think was super important. I did not wear these gloves for the event, but since they're here, I wore them after the event. This is like my new favorite glove. This is like a PA glove, the Escapism, and they're just like knitted. But like they're so warm. They're not windproof though, and not enough glove for this event. This is where I only have the other ones in the truck, but I wore these Velotoes neoprene gloves, and I was a little nervous. I'd never worn these before. We're gonna talk about Alex in a bit, but Alex, who ended up winning the race, he used to work for the bicycle station. He works for SRAM up in the suspension service center now. So if you ever sent your suspension into SRAM, Alex, who is in a lot of these clips and won and beat me in the race, actually might have been the one to fix your suspension. So big shout out to Alex. He had a great race. He gave these to me because he bought the wrong size, and I've never worn them until Grovel. It was so good. These are like not casual though, like terrible dexterity. Like it's just rubber. And so that's where like I was seriously like having a hard time clicking the camera button, which is why I filmed 20 minutes straight of the beginning of the race, which actually is a sick clip, but you don't get to see any of the back half. These are windproof, they're warm. I mean, you still get cold. It was cold enough that even my hand was getting cold, but it would like, I didn't lose my hand entirely. It would get cold and then it would like warm up and then it would kind of cycle back and forth until the sun came out later on in the race. The biggest negative about this glove is there's two. The dexterity is weird, and grabbing onto the handlebar with these feels gross. It's just like a big rubber thing. So that was a little, like getting used to my hands feeling weird was something I definitely had to do during this race. And then because of how warm they are, what ends up happening is literally like when I took these off, like you just dump sweat out of them. Like sweat just pools in the fingers. And I think it was worth it for this race situation. Do I want to wear these casually? Never. They're gross and really need a situation like a race to like justify, I think, wearing them for me, but like great product at the end of the day. Me and Chase recently moved, and I literally spent 2 hours the night before found shoe covers. I found one of my Bontrager neoprene shoe covers, and then I couldn't find the other one. Luckily, I did find it. I went through every tub in the house to try to find these because we still haven't really finished unpacking yet. But these work great. Nothing too fancy here. These are just like their neoprene ones, but I think it's a solid product. So shout out to Bontrager for helping me not get cold. And then it's finally time to talk about my S-Works shoes because as of today, these are now retired. One thing that you might not know about me is I buy a new pair of shoes every year, get a bike fit with my new shoes, and then those are my shoes and the old ones go away. So Grovel is always kind of the last time I ride in these shoes. And every video of me racing this year, I use these shoes in. And this is kind of my full year wear and tear of an S-Works Recon shoe. I noticed I do have a little rip there. The bottoms are actually, this bottom has held up better than the shoe I had before. This was a Shimano shoe and it was like missing lugs and stuff. This one has held up a lot better than the Shimano did on the lug factor. Like I have a Shimano S-Fire where like this whole lug is missing and the shoe is just like ripped apart right there.
Yeah, those did hold up really well.
They held up so well. I really loved these shoes and I would highly recommend them. My boas are a little jacked up.
Yeah, that's normal.
I could get this fixed. Okay, that one works. Which one doesn't work? Yeah, like, do you see how it won't go out any further than that? It's just,
I feel like that's just normal
tighten.
with like BOA wear and tear, and they're replaceable, so. I
would say you could probably service this and get them to work better, but it's funny like trying to get it, like this one's really bad. So like that's as far out as it'll go. And like getting it to like get on is a little challenging sometimes, but I would highly recommend this shoe. I have a super wide foot. Sorry if I'm wrong about this, but I didn't see that Specialized made a wide in these. They used to have S-Works 6 mountain bike shoes. They did make wides. Now they just have one size, but let me reassure you that this is a wide shoe and it fit me beautifully and highly recommend these S-Works shoes. This is like the heaviest duty mechanism jacket. This was great. Not warm enough for the day though. So I had to also wear this underneath.
The wool jersey.
This is my favorite jersey I have ever owned, y'all. I bought this thinking it was kind of weird and it's not very windproof, but what I've found is that this is the best jersey I've ever owned for like temperature control, like ultimate fall weather jersey. I've worn this in days where it starts cold and gets hot and I'm comfortable the whole time. So I was really excited that I knew that I was gonna be insulated. That was the goal with this. So I wore this underneath my shell and that was perfect temperature. Like I never got too hot or too cold in either direction.
Just a quick note on the Jesse's like outer layer here. He calls it a jacket. It's literally like their thermal jersey. It's just like super thick. It's not a legit jacket.
It's not a jacket, yeah.
It's not something that I personally wear as a jacket. I wear it as a normal jersey.
Yeah, sorry. I wanted to be clear, but I also wanted to look cool in the photos, so I had to do the whole matching.
Well, and the layering like worked well for you.
Yeah, and then these are the long sleeve, the long pant winter bib. I really like these. I wear a size medium top in paw and a size small bottoms across the board. So these are a size small, fits me really well.
I haven't ridden in these yet. Like I haven't gotten myself a pair yet, but I like that they feel like super windproof, and I was intrigued by like the inner layer here.
You know what I like about them is they don't have a zipper.
That too. I hate
the zippers on them. These are great.
Zippers always dig into my legs.
I will say I definitely didn't, I can't like say they're crazy windproof. I never felt like I was getting like wind shear cold, and I think these I would say are fairly windproof ultimately. The race starts off kind of a neutral roll on some pavement, and then it immediately climbs one of the biggest hills of the day, Mount Nebo. The trail entrance to a true single track where it's hard to pass is 5 or so miles from the start. So this hill climb is pretty much one of the most important parts of the entire race. What I always try to do is try to ride to the trail with the really fast gravel bikes. Because remember, I'm in the mountain bike category, so like I'm not super concerned about like...
You're not necessarily racing them.
Yeah, there's a different podium, and like to be completely frank, I'm not gonna beat Rainstorm. So like the Rainstorm Pro Crit team was there, and like I'm like, I know better, right? Like, I'm not gonna beat them. So I wasn't stressing about trying to beat Kyle Perry and Ferg and Aaron Beebe. Like, and Gavin from First Internet, they all did win the overall race. So like whenever I'm there on a mountain bike, I'm not thinking to myself like, okay, I'm gonna just beat these good dudes. Like, that's not my goal. So my goal at the start is to try to get to the top of the hill and have them tow me to the trail where then you can get a big lead. Well, this year it was kind of weird. I made it up the first pitch with those guys, and then the second pitch, they were just going too fast and I couldn't keep up. So I dropped back, and thank you to everybody in that B group for letting me and Alex go in the trail first with our mountain bikes. That was very classy. Because sometimes there's gravel bikes that'll like, people on gravel bikes think they're gonna ride Nebo faster than a mountain bike, and it's a real mountain bike trail and you just can't do it.
That's my like biggest complaint whenever I do the race is like I always get caught up in traffic and I'm just like grumpy. I have to go like as hard as I can to get to the trail and it sucks.
Like I was with Chase Harker and some other guys I knew, Caleb Gibson was in that group. They all were like, yep, no problem. It doesn't help them either, you know, it makes their lives harder if I'm trying to get around. So it just makes sense. We actually caught the lead group way quicker than I expected. Suddenly we were back, like we were right there with like Kyle and Ferg.
Was this on Nebo still?
Yeah, and like early in Nebo, so like they didn't really make it
For
very
context
far.
For everyone watching, Nebo Trail is, I'm going to call it kind of iconic in our area, but it's a true backcountry single track. Like a lot of big ups, a lot of big downs.
It's a blue.
A lot of rocks.
It's a blue trail though.
It's an incredible trail. Like it's not crazy techy, but it is backcountry.
Yeah. I actually ate.
Oh God.
I crashed real hard. So normally I run 2.4 Maxxis tires and you can kind of get away with a lot. I freaking slipped out, did a full flip over the bars, and then I remember visually seeing like a tree that I was gonna fall. Like I tried to dodge the tree as I was crashing. Ended up being okay, got back on the bike. Nothing was too out of whack, so I was good. But that was a little bit of a jolt. And then, so I'm riding the trail with Ferg, who I'm friends with. Shout out to Ferg. And Kyle Perry. They're both pro road racers, and there's no point of attacking them on the trail because after you get off the trail, the next 40 miles they're highly advantaged on their gravel bike. And I remember Kyle asked me, he's like, hey, do you want to go around? I told him, I was like, hey man, like we only got like 3 miles left. Like you guys are gonna tow me to the trail anyway. Like it's no big deal. You know what's hilarious about that is we get out of the trail, Kyle pulls me like for a minute, and then all of a sudden the entire lead group is back together. It's like, oh, nobody's even off the front. Like I'm literally in the lead pack. And so being patient on that mountain bike trail can pay off big because wasting energy for no reason is not a good idea.
Because after that, you're just on
It's a lot of gravel
for until the end, basically.
Until the end. Knowing that the next climb, basically they pull you to the next climb, and then this is where my camera stopped working, but like me, Alex, and Sean Crotty, the 3 mountain bike leaders, we're all together, and then they're up the road, like just going faster than we could, you know? I mean, my bike's way heavier than theirs, and I was there to race Alex and Sean, which we're gonna get into next, because now that the leaders on the gravel bikes are out of reach, this is where it got really interesting. For the next 35 miles or so, it was me, Alex, and Sean. Sean's a lot older than me and Alex, but Sean was a pro, like a legit pro mountain bike racer back in the 80s in the heyday of mountain biking. So he's super fast still.
Sean's awesome.
Sean's awesome. And it's getting weird. So normally in this race, if you make that first selection on the mountain bike and you can like get a big enough gap, the gravel bikes can't overcome it. This is where it got really weird. So we had the 3 of us on mountain bikes, and there's 2 gravel bikes, and the gravel bikes can pull harder than we can, but the gravel bikes are in a really weird spot in this situation. So these 2 guys who were stragglers from the lead gravel bike group are now stuck in a pack with 3 dudes on a mountain bike who like ultimately, like I can't go like 30 miles an hour, it just doesn't pedal that fast. So it kind of puts them in a weird spot where like whenever it was their turn to pull, like they would surge really hard and then we would have to like speed up to try to catch the draft. And then one of us would get on the front and would slow way down. And basically those gravel bike guys were just stuck. And I kind of think it's funny that they were stuck, but it's just the way it goes with this race. Never happened before though, but like we had a 3-man pack. That was the podium right there for the mountain bike race, which was kind of intense because like normally it's not like that. Normally you get caught out like maybe one mountain bike or one gravel bike and they're trying to run away from another group with another mountain biker, but like all of us together was a unique thing for this event this year. And ultimately like I got third. I just didn't have the fitness to keep up. The race hits a big pavement climb on Highway 446 out by Lake Monroe, and the gravel bike guy, he just climbed the hill so fast.
It's not like a crazy steep climb, but it's very long and
It's
gradual.
like 2 miles. I just didn't have the legs for the pace. I made it up the climb with them, and then the next road is like 10 miles of like rolling gravel. On that road, I just couldn't hold the pace anymore. Anytime the guy with the gravel bike got on the front, I just couldn't keep up, and ultimately ended up finishing third in the mountain bike category. Still good enough for 7th overall. I finished in a time of 3 hours and 49 minutes. I think I was 7 minutes back from Alex, who won. I'm pretty sure, I think he was like 3:41, I was 3:49.
That sounds right.
Yeah,
roughly.
I think last year me and Trey did it in 3:31 on the mountain bikes, which is the fastest it's ever been done on a mountain bike, with the caveat that we also had the aero extensions for that day. I did not run them for this.
And I feel like conditions were better last year too.
They were
like,
way
it
better.
wasn't nearly as cold and
No,
a lot
it
of other
was-
things.
It wasn't cold at all last year. Anyway, great event. Awesome race. It was awesome to be in that 3-up kind of pack. It was funny as we got closer and closer to like the final trail, it's like just keep getting quieter and quieter. I'm pretty sure Alex won the race on the last trail, just having more energy than Sean did. But yeah, shout out to Dino Grovel. If you're curious, definitely put it on your calendar next year if you're available, y'all. It's a good one. That was my last race of the year, so we can hopefully get back to some training now. I've been basically declining in fitness since my peak of the year was Hoosier Downcountry, I think, and then after Hoosier Downcountry, I just haven't had great fitness, I don't think.
No, you haven't. I'm the only one in the family that rides a bike at the moment.
It's hard to train and race that much is what I learned this year. Hopefully you enjoyed this, y'all. If you guys want a custom build or Epic World Cup, whatever it is, definitely reach out. We can help you
Or
out.
anything mentioned in this video with the exception of the hat.
Yeah, you have to go get that from somewhere else, but see y'all later.